I don't know who's worse, Alec for ignoring his child in pain, or Yo who can't even bring himself to look at Greta and hands her a shirt to cover up her saggy rolls, yeah. And the worst part is that the guy seemed ever so convinced to be doing a great job at being nice and keeping Greta on his side as an ally. But even though Yo is the worst human being to ever walk this earth, I guess it's Alec who takes the cake this time. Just because, you know, child neglect, pretty horrible. Not to mention, he admitted to it with such pride in his voice, as if he was boasting about how little he cares about his son, but no, dude, that's not something to brag about. No, it really isn't. On the bright side though, it was pretty cool to see Yo handing Greta Kai's shirt from last season, given how the guy seemed to have left it in the woods of Camp Tipiska a year ago, so nice detail. It doesn't quite make me forget about all this abuse, but it was a nice detail. Right after that, we have one of my favorite moments so far, with Greta acknowledging her personality shift since season 1, sharing a bit of a backstory with Rhea and telling her that she used to play up her attitude to protect herself, but deep down wasn't as horrible as everyone else thought. However, she admits things changed for her the day she met Yo, because he apparently, somehow, in some way, at some point in time, actually made her feel at ease and good with herself. And, what? What universe are we even talking about? Obviously not this one. I can understand if Greta doesn't think much of Yo's wretched behavior right now, but saying that he had a positive influence on her is just implausible. He can't even pretend to be nice, so how did he pull it off? And how did he even help Greta? I can't even imagine it, I swear. However, because the girl dreads being alone, she absolutely doesn't want Yo to ever leave her side, so at this point Rhea just steps in and warns her that she's gonna stand up to him next time he mistreats her. And admittedly, this could be the start of a great friendship between these two. I'm pretty glad they got some alone time. Especially because, despite being on the same team, they barely even interacted in 9 episodes. We'll discuss Greta's personality shift in great detail in some other review down the line, just as soon as this plot point evolves a little bit more, because we don't really have that much information on her for the time being. I just hope we don't have to wait 100 more episodes for that to happen, and given the slow pace of the season, I wouldn't be surprised. But moving on. Because she tends to have very negative thoughts and gets all crazy, unhinged, and vengeful when she's alone, Gabby suspects she might suffer from schizophrenia. Although she apparently doesn't really want to find out, so she just ends up pushing down all those feelings, forcing herself to be positive all the time. And this is pretty curious, as in the beta version, Beta Gabby actually joined the show right after she left a mental health hospital of some sort. So like, in season 1 I just assumed she was already diagnosed with some disorder, but apparently not yet. So I'm very excited about this, and super glad the writers didn't forget to explore this side of her. I've been waiting for this since Adventure Camp, finally. Also, thankfully, Gabby is the first person who doesn't passively accept everything Tess tells her, deeming it incredibly priceless and life-changing advice. Instead, she decides to call her out for always believing to know what's best for others, even though she really doesn't. In fact, Tess decided to eliminate Ellie, depriving her of a chance to win the money because she believed the game was getting at her. Which was true, of course, yet Ellie's need for money is what pushed her to become so desperate and to give up on her morals in the first place. So even though I'm not a huge Ellie supporter, I do agree with Gabby's reasoning here. Tess was trying to do a good thing, totally, but she didn't really consider all the implications of her decision. Eliminating Ellie was an acceptable short-term solution for her, but it really wasn't preferable to Ellie actually earning the money and finally living a decent life. And because today is all about introspection, we also see Jake super determined to change for the better and work on himself, asking Ashley to call him out when he randomly lashes out at people. So yeah, nothing new. He's slowly growing and trying to work on himself and whatever, but because we're dragging the storyline up until freaking episode 21 apparently, he doesn't really do anything new or noteworthy this episode either. Actually, talking about being repetitive, after Aiden figures out he's been lying about his boyfriend, Tom decides he wants to talk to Jake, for real this time though, and guess what? He doesn't get to do it this time either, so yeah, nothing new. And this is all I'm gonna say about these two today. I don't want every review to be just about them every single time, so let's discuss the challenge. Today, the contestants will be facing in a series of rounds where one camper from each team must lie down and slip and slide while grabbing a basketball and shooting it into a hoop. The first team to score 3 points wins immunity. So, the challenge wasn't the most exciting or original one ever, but I did enjoy it. The issue, again, is that it doesn't quite stand out, and it feels way too similar to the previous ones, especially to the challenge of episode 4. So I guess, if you take it on its own, it's actually pretty well executed, maybe not too challenging with nail-biting tension, but it works pretty well. The issue is that it's not really unique. The good thing though is that this episode has a much appreciated twist, as today's challenge will see 2 losing teams instead of just 1, so the campers at the elimination ceremony will be allowed to vote out anyone from either their own team or the opposing one. And I'm pretty curious to know if something like this ever happened in Survivor 2, or if it's a completely original idea the writers had. If you know, tell me in the comments. I really like this idea, and actually, I kinda wish this season had a few more twists like this one when it comes to the elimination ceremonies, because some of them were way too predictable. Even though I was hoping for a 3-way tie so that the final point would be decisive and the final round twice as intense, Team Magenta ends up winning the game before a tie could happen, meaning tonight, both Team Cyan and Yellow will be heading to elimination together. The twist of having 2 teams vote together tonight was actually a pretty great occasion for Gabby to join the Villains Alliance, and even though it felt almost too convenient to have the special vote happen tonight, at the very start of Gabby's revenge arc, I guess I'll just take it anyway because I'm glad they're finally spicing things up. I admit, the Villains Alliance finally pulled a great move tonight, studying their adversaries and realizing that, after Ellie's elimination, they could easily gain Gabby's trust and get her to vote with them. And it was also pretty smart how they had Greta try to convince Gabby to side with them, given how she knows her best and has already worked with her in the past. First time they truly use their brains, finally. I also appreciate the way Gabby used Tom, Tess, and Aiden's logic against them. If eliminating Ellie really wasn't personal according to them, which it so totally was, at least for Aiden and Tom, then they can't really complain if Gabby does the same and votes for one of them. In fact, because of this, Gabby sides with the villains, and in a 5-3 vote, Tess is out. I guess it would have helped with the tension if Team Cyan managed to get Gabby to at least consider siding with them right before voting, so that the vote reading portion of the ceremony would be a little more intense. After all, the moment the first Tess vote was read, it was pretty clear it was her going home tonight. Either that, or they could have shown, I don't know, Yul tempted to vote out Rhea after Aiden's pitch, given how the guy isn't much of a strategist and really doesn't like Rhea, so that would have worked too. Now, strategically speaking, yes, voting out Tess was a pretty bad decision on Gabby's part, especially because she basically had a sole vote tonight, so she alone could pick who to send home, just like it happened in episode 5 of season 1. In my opinion, she should have targeted Aiden instead. After all, with him out of the game, Gabby would only have Tom and Tess left on her team, and I bet they'd be more likely to try and side with her in a future ceremony rather than working together against her. Instead, now that Tess is out, Gabby is left alone on a team with 2 besties basically, so there's no way that at the next ceremony they don't vote her out. I guess she's just very lucky the teams are merging next episode. However, we know the teams are merging because of episode 10's trailer, but Gabby technically had no way of knowing it, so yeah, it's still a pretty bad strategy. Unfortunately, with Gabby, that's how eliminations tend to go down. She doesn't really vote strategically, she only votes based on emotions and feelings, which may not be the smartest thing ever, but it's very consistent with her character. Tess did betray her alliance and friendship with Ellie, and she was the swing vote that could have kept her in the game, so I totally see why Gabby would want to get rid of her first. Shame she had to do it by putting a huge target on her back, but whatever, live and learn. As for Tess, she's really hard to hate, honestly. However, even though she stayed in the game for almost half a season, she brought absolutely nothing to the table. She was a little too anonymous. Like, who was Tess this season? A supporting character, a helper, a therapist, sure, but they could have had Rosa Maria return instead of her and made her have a past friendship with Ellie, and the story would have gone down the exact same way. So I can't really say she was unique or did something truly memorable. And even though Season 2 characters aren't really as well-rounded as Season 1 campers, I was expecting Tess to do a whole lot more, especially with her love triangle with Hunter and Allie. How silly of me to imagine that the main storyline between these three, which was put on pause at the end of Season 2, would be brought back up and rubbed up in this season. Like, how could I even assume something like that? How crazy. I just wish Tess had something going on for her this season. I really did have high expectations for her. In fact, with Tess gone, I now have no interest in seeing Hunter return anymore, and at this point, I suspect Allie will get booted pretty soon too, so that she and Hunter can have closure in the motel episode, which is so not how I wanted things to go down, so I just hope this is not the last we see of this trio. It's a shame because they were my favorites from Season 2, I really like them. So now that I doubt Hunter will return, I expect Connor to make a comeback, and maybe Ellie along with him, mainly because Connor's story with Rhea was kinda left up in the air, and because Ellie did not thank the Patreons last episode. But do tell me who you guys think will return. Finally, the episode ends with Oliver warning Crystal that one of the staff members was caught breaking the rules on camera. And oh my goodness, who could it be? He's clearly referring to Emily, but it would be pretty cool if they later revealed he wasn't talking about her at all, and he actually caught Derek doing something shady behind the scenes. That'd be a cool twist, and we do need one now more than ever. But this is just my take, so let me know your thoughts about our friendly neighborhood therapist, about the episode, and about Greta's incoming arc. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao!